Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Sustick. I'm the Executive Director of Young Tradition Vermont. Welcome and thank you for being here, especially for today's program, the tribute concert, where we're highlighting the Vermont Folklife Center's apprenticeship program and the participants who are here that are part of that. There's a couple of people I want to make sure that if you're watching this, you are aware of. You'll be hearing from Yazi Zeichner shortly. She is the manager of Young Tradition Festival and also the president of the board for Young Tradition Vermont, and Oliver Scanlon, who operates the video transitions that we'll be navigating here. He also did all the stuff yesterday for the festival, and Oliver is also a board member, and those two folks are essential to making this festival and this part of the festival happen, especially this year in this way. Thanks to them both. I'll turn this over to Yazi and then come back with a couple of other things.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, everyone out there. Thank you for tuning in. This is the final part of Young Tradition Festival. Our festival for the past couple of years has actually been a week-long event with evening concerts from performers all over the country and different places in the world. And we hope to go back to that version of the festival soon, maybe next year, fingers crossed. But this year it's back down to a weekend, which just includes the contest finals for the annual Young Tradition contest and the mentor student showcase that happened last night with family bands and mentors and students from Vermont playing and showcasing their relationships and their passing on of the tradition. And today we have, as Mark said, the tribute concert, which highlights the apprenticeship program that the Vermont Folklife Center runs. And that is a point of partnership between Young Tradition Vermont and Vermont Folklife Center. So thanks for tuning in. And all of these events have been streamed on the YTV Facebook page and the YTV YouTube channel. And if you didn't get a chance to tune in to yesterday's events, then you can go back to the Facebook page or the YouTube channel and watch those. And you can watch this show again there, or you can, if you missed part of it, you can go and tune into that part. And before we go on, I would love to thank our sponsors. We have a wonderful list of sponsors this year that was the screen share at the beginning of this show, just before Mark started talking. So we'll mention different sponsors individually throughout the show. And if you get a chance, if you know anyone from those sponsors, then you can thank them for helping to make this event possible.
All right, well, thanks, Yazi. So just some quick words about Young Tradition Vermont and a couple of other things. Speaking of sponsors, we certainly welcome that, but we also need individual contributions to make these kinds of things possible. So we have to count on those a bit. So if you want to do that, we have a PayPal address, paypal.me/YTVermont, paypal.me/YTVermont, or you can send it to us via mail. Our website is youngtraditionvermont.org, and you can get information there. You can make a donation from there. The last I checked, we had almost 1,000 people tuning in to one of the events yesterday. And so that's really encouraging, and it's great that folks are interested in doing this. We weren't really sure. These days, it's really hard to know whether we should proceed or not with things. So really glad the results of yesterday were fantastic. Really looking forward to today. It's all part of this, what the organization is trying to do, is support young people using traditional music and dance to inspire them, to give them things to learn, to give them chances to perform, which is a big part of what we're doing with the festival, and also to serve their communities. I think that's all I wanted to say at this point. Yazi, have anything else you want to chime in on?
Not right now. I think we're ready for some music.
All right. So we're going to turn this over to friends and colleagues at the Vermont Folklife Center. Mary Wesley, I think, is maybe up first.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Wesley. I'm here with Kate Hoy, director of the VFC, and we're both just really happy to be here with our YTV friends, longtime friends and partners. And thanks so much for featuring the apprenticeship program in this way. We have been involved with the Young Tradition Vermont tribute concert in other ways in years past, but this is kind of the most we've ever teamed up. So we're really excited about that. And I'll turn it over to Kate to introduce the Vermont Folklife Center and the apprenticeship program.
Thanks, Mary and Mark and Yazi and Oliver for the technological support today. So I'm Kate Hoy, I'm the director of the Folklife Center, and I'll just say a brief introduction to our organization before we start playing some music for you all. So the Folklife Center is a statewide cultural research and education nonprofit. It's based in Middlebury, Vermont, and our mission is to document, sustain, and share the diverse cultures of Vermont. And really, you know, what that means is our work is really seeking to make Vermonters more visible to one another. Because we feel like when people can really listen to, hear, and see one another, that we can develop more empathy and better understand our differences. And we feel like that can lead to more positive social change and a sustainable future. So at the Folklife Center, we have a staff of 9 people and we have 4 major programs. And I won't go into detail with all of them, but we have an archive, we have an education program, we have a touring exhibit program, and then we have our traditional arts apprenticeship program, which has been going since the early 90s, and it's supported by the National Endowment for the Arts, as well as individual donors and partner organizations like Young Tradition Vermont. And as many of you know, if you're tuning into a Young Tradition Vermont event, the traditional or folk arts historically have been passed from generation to generation without the support of a formal class or public institution. And these traditional arts are carried on because they have meaning in people's lives. But in a changing world, often this link between generations can be broken and time-honored knowledge can be lost. So this program really seeks to keep those traditions vital and relevant to communities that practice them. And so we pair a master artist and some type of cultural expression with students or apprentices who are interested in learning that cultural expression. And that can be a performance-based art or a material-based art like basket weaving or boat building. So we're really excited to be able to highlight some of the projects that are happening this year. And I think with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mary.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. So what you're going to see this afternoon is, of course, a COVID era concert, and we're really grateful again to the folks at Young Tradition Vermont to kind of coach us a little bit in putting this kind of an event together. The Folklife Center has done kind of less online events during this time, so we're really happy for this opportunity. And of course, very grateful to all of the artists who have put together pre-recorded videos that you're going to be seeing today. So these are from folks who are currently participating in this year's cohort of the Vermont Traditional Arts Apprenticeship Program. So we'll see everything from fiddle tunes and Nepali dancing, and we're going to also share one video from one of our material culture artist pairs over at the weaving school. So we're gonna just sort of try to take you on a tour of the different art forms that are being continued and that we're getting to be aware of and connected to a little bit through the apprenticeship program. But as always, our gratitude lies with the artists. So I want to introduce Pete Sutherland and Maeve Fairfax as our first apprenticed pair. And Pete and Maeve, do you want to just tell us what you've been working on this year, and then we'll watch your first video, and then we'll hear about the Youth Commission after.
Great. Well, I'm going to get a lot of oxygen on this show because this is not the last time you'll see me in this role this afternoon, which is truly an honor, and I'm enjoying the heck out of it. I think my role with the Youth Commission this year the second year that there has been one is really to be a kind of a springboard for ideas, maybe a reality check sometimes, and a advisory sort of person for their fearless director who's on screen with you, Maeve Fairfax. So I have done more participation with the group as kind of her mentor, her personal mentor, maybe in this project, than with the entire group. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, you've also been providing us amazing fiddle tunes, which is really great as well. 3 out of 6 of the sets that we're putting on our EP came from Pete, which is pretty amazing. And yeah, as a first-time band leader, it's been really great to have somebody to bounce ideas off of and get advice from.
Perfect. Well, let's hear some tunes from you, and then after the first video, we'll come back together and hear a little more about the Youth Commission.
We are rolling.
All right. Hi, it's Pete Sutherland here in beautiful downtown Burlington, Vermont, and
I'm Maeve Fairfax.
and this is where the YTV tour group and Young Tradition intersects squarely with the Folklife Center's traditional arts program, so we're representing the Youth Commission, which Maeve is the director of this year. There are 5 of them, but they wouldn't all fit on this porch. So we're going to play 3 tunes among many sets that they're working up this year, and these 3 happen to be.
They are the Green Mountain Petronella, Elmer Barton's Civil War tune, and Drunkard's Glory. And Pete taught them to us. They're all from Vermont.
All right. Okay. 2, 3, 4.
Nice job. So one of the things I love about this series of videos is we're just, we're getting to kind of see in a really specific way how people are continuing to learn together and make music together and continue traditions together. It's just a whole new layer of that, that work having to overcome the challenges of COVID. I actually filmed that video of Pete and Maeve on the porch, and it was really fun to get to drop in and see that. When we're, running the apprenticeship program for us at the Folklife Center, one of the best parts is getting to do site visits where we get to usually go in person to kind of visit folks in their home or in the weaving studio or in the granite shed where people are carving stone, and getting to kind of go on site and see those scenes. So again, just appreciation for the adaptability of artists at this time. So yeah, Maeve and Pete, that was a great little glimpse at kind of what you've been working on, kind of one-on-one. And as you said at the beginning of that video, Pete, this new overlap between the Folklife Center's apprenticeship program, which for years has been supporting this kind of face-to-face, often intergenerational learning or passing on of traditional skills, is a really good fit for what Young Tradition Vermont is trying to do with the Youth Commission project. And so we were really happy to support you two working together as one component of the Youth Commission, one sort of specific mentorship. But I know there's a lot more going on with the commission than just that. So Maeve, can you maybe tell us a little bit about what that's looked like so far, and kind of what are you trying to do with the Youth Commission? What are kind of the big picture hopes and dreams of that project?
Yeah, so the Youth Commission is where basically every year Mark chooses a young artist to form an ensemble. It can be any people that the person wants. And basically the two goals are to create a program of music that can be played at events to represent Young Tradition Vermont, and also to create some sort of final project. So right now we are working towards recording an EP, which is really exciting. And the other half of that, the representing YTV at events, has actually just started to be possible again in a non-online format, which is also very, very exciting. But yeah, right now we've gotten music from a bunch of different artist mentors. Pete is one of them. He's sort of been like our main person that's given us music, but we've also gotten songs and tunes from Dominique Dodge, Maura Smiley, and Deb Flanders, which was amazing. And yeah, so that's sort of our main goal at the moment. We're working on this EP project, but yeah, it's been amazing to have Pete. He's definitely been giving us some great tunes, and our goal sort of this year was to do all tunes from this part of the world, and Pete's had some really great local tunes like that set that you just saw.
Nice. I love sort of the symbolism in that too, because we are all kind of have been staying in this part of the world for the most part. So why not go deep?
Yes.
Maeve, is there anything that is kind of sticking with you, or sort of shedding new light on what it is to be a musician, or what it is to sort of play this kind of traditional music, being in this particular position of leadership, being kind of pulling a group together?
Yeah, it's been really interesting. I've never done anything like this before. Like, I've never been in charge of a group, and it's been cool because I feel like I can kind of make something new out of really old music, which has been really interesting. And yeah, I'm super psyched that we were having the opportunity to actually play it in person again.
Nice. All right, Pete, anything to add before we watch the full commission in action?
No, I don't get to hear them often enough yet, although I think that may be changing very soon. I hope it is anyway. So let's go for it.
Good. I'm excited. I haven't seen this video yet. So here we go.
You must answer my questions 9, 99 and 90. For you're not God's, you're one of mine, and you were the weaver's body. What is whiter than the milk? Sing 99 and 90. And what is softer than the silk? And you were the weaver's body. So is whiter than the milk. Sing 99 and 90. And down is softer than the silk. And I am the weaver's body. What is higher than a tree? Sing 99 and 90. And what is deeper than the sea? And you are the weaver's body. Heaven's higher than a tree. Sing 99 and 90. And hell is deeper than the sea. And I am the weaver's body. What is louder than a horn? Sing 99 and 90. And what is sharper than a thorn? And you are the weaver's body. Thunder's louder than a horn. Sing 99 and 90. And death is sharper than a thorn. And I am the weaver's body. What's more innocent than a lamb? Sing 99 and 90. And what is meaner than womankind? And you are the weaver's body. Babe's more innocent than a lamb. Sing 99 and 90. And the devil is better than womankind. And I am the weaver's body. You have answered my questions 9. Sing 99 and 90. And you are God's, you're none of mine. And you are the weaver's body.
Wonderful, beautiful child ballad. Loved hearing that. And kind of a nice lead into our next video, which is from Dominique Dodge, who's a traditional harper and sounds like also a mentor in the youth commission. But Dominique this year has also been working with Ellie Freeburn, apprenticing on the traditional harp. And they introduce their partnership and their tunes in the video. So let's just go right to the video and hear from Dominique and Ellie.
Hi there, I'm Dominique Dodge.
And I'm Eleanor Freeburn.
And we've been working together on a master and apprenticeship grant from the Vermont Folklife Center for the past year. And we'd like to share some of our music with you today. But first, we'll tell you a little bit about ourselves. I am from Jackson, New Hampshire, though I lived in Vermont for many years. And I'm a singer and a harper and a concertina player and also a fluent Scottish Gaelic speaker.
I am 14. I live in Vermont. I've been playing the harp for 2 or 3-ish years.
How about what other instruments do you play?
Oh yes, I also play guitar and violin and some piano, although it's very casual.
Awesome. So I'll tell you a little bit about the tune that Ellie and I are going to play as a duo together. And this tune is called the Lisnagan Jig, and it's an Irish dance tune by a fiddler called Brendan Ring. And this tune has just become wildly popular across the folk music world. And so it's one of those tunes that anywhere you go, probably someone's going to know it and you can play it with them, which is wonderful. So when we can get back together, it's a great one for building community.
This tune I'm playing for my solo is Mrs. Maxwell's Second Air, a composition by Turlough O'Carolan, an Irish harper born in the 17th century. And he wrote it for one of his patrons, Mrs. Maxwell. He actually wrote several tunes for her, and this one in particular has a lot of influence from both Baroque music and Irish music.
So thank you so much for listening to our music today. It's really great to share it with you. I hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye.
Okay, thank you so much, Dominique and Ellie, for sharing that wonderful video. Mary, did you have anything you wanted to say before we move on?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so our next group involves the wonderful Pete Sutherland and his apprentice Isabella Rottler. This is the first year that Isabella is studying through the apprenticeship program with Pete. 2 years ago, she studied with Don Roy from Maine, fiddler from Maine. And I know that Pete and Isabella introduce themselves and their work in the videos, but I just wanted to open it up to see if Isabella, there's anything you'd like to say before we go into the videos.
Yeah, I mean, the names of the tunes are in the videos, but one of the sets is St. Anne's Reel into Dad's Reel, which were both Louis Baudouin tunes. They are both things he played, but St. Anne's Reel, I guess, it's something that everybody knows, and if you live in Vermont, you kind of have to know it. And the other set is the Westphalia Waltz, which I'm not exactly sure if that's one of his, but I guess, Pete, you can kind of answer that.
Westphalia Waltz was kind of Louis Baudouin's famous waltz. He didn't write it. It probably came from Texas, and we don't have a long enough show to really examine the fairly direct line between Texas swing music and French Canadian music. So just email me.
Great. Thank you. And Isabella, I'm just curious if you have anything to say about what drew you to study Franco-American and Quebecois fiddle music with Pete.
Yeah, so my mom's side of the family is French Canadian, so I guess it's already kind of in my heritage. And I'd been studying with Pete before, a couple years before we actually started the apprenticeship. So I guess you put two and two together and makes sense.
Great. Was there anything else either of you would like to say before we share?
No, we did a pretty good sized intro, as you said, Kate. So let's
All right.
roll tape.
All right, moving forward. Thank you so much.
All right, this is Isabella, and I'm Pete, and we are doing a year-long project through the Folklife Center's Master Apprentice Traditional Arts Program in Franco-American music, particularly that of native son Louis Baudouin and family, and we're going to play a couple of reels. First one is actually a tune that everybody around here plays, called St. Anne's Reel, and we'll follow that with Louis' own tune, Dad's Reel. Potatoes here, maybe? Isabella, and we are in Burlington, Vermont. And we're going to play some Burlington music for you that we are learning as part of the year-long project through the Folklife Center, the Master Apprentice program, particularly focusing on the music of Louis Baudouin and family. And we're going to play right now his lovely waltz Westfield. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Beautiful. Oh, I can't tell if I'm there, but thank you so much, Pete and Isabella. And Isabella, we're really glad that you came back for another apprenticeship connection. And I know that you did. Did you do your apprenticeship with Don Roy? A lot of it was done remotely, is that right?
Yeah, all of it was done remotely. We
Yeah.
all did it through FaceTime.
So you were in some ways prepared for this moment in time.
Yeah.
But it's really nice to see you and Pete playing together in person. Can't wait to hear more in the future. All right, well, thanks to you both, and actually really, really nice connection here, hearing Franco-American music from you both, because the next video we're going to share is Kate Smith, who's a master weaver at the Marshfield School of Weaving, and her apprentice Jude Poor, who have been working on learning some Franco-American weaving traditions. And you know, as Isabel mentioned, in her family and many others, we don't, you know, Vermont not only shares a border with Quebec, but a long history of cultural exchange. And as a result of immigration, I think somewhere around 25% of the state's population has, you know, traces some roots to Quebec. So it's, and that's a part of Vermont heritage that the Folklife Center is always interested in cultivating, and we have a wonderful representation in our archive of Franco-American music, and also you know, family stories and oral history. So this next video, we get to go down to Marshfield and visit the School of Weaving. And as I mentioned, this is just an opportunity to kind of go outside the realm of music and song and dance and look at some material arts, material culture practices, which are also part of the apprenticeship program. You know, just a little moment of opportunity that we might not have if we were doing this in person. So, you know, looking for those silver linings. And we've loved getting to see what Kate and Jude are doing down in Marshfield in a barn full of looms. So let's watch that video next and take a little field trip.
So I came to the school as a student in 1979 to study with Norman Kennedy. And then I became his apprentice in 1982. And for the next 10 years, worked with him directly until the patroness of the school died and the school closed. In 2003, I restarted the Marshfield School of Weaving again in its former location. So, and we've been going strong ever since then, with more and more students wanting to study this traditional textile production. This is our studio space in a restored 18th century barn. And these are some of our early hand looms from the 18th and the 19th century. And these are some of the projects that are ongoing at the time. And so I walked into this space for the first time in September of 1979 and was just overwhelmed with the beauty and the smell of linseed oil and sheep's lanolin. And it changed my life forever. Basically, we work one-on-one. The students get a lot of private instruction. And we go through all the basics of making a warp, putting it on the loom, dressing the loom, and then weaving. And the methods that we teach were methods used by the early hand weavers who were, working professionally. This is something that's efficient. It's multiple thread warping, multiple thread threading, and it just it gives you a firm foundation for weaving good quality cloth. So Jude is working on their Folklife grant, and we've been working together since when?
November?
Since November, and they're doing many interesting projects based on the traditional fabrics of French Canada with an individual contemporary twist to them.
My name is Jude. I grew up in Vermont on a farm in a French-Canadian family. I guess the reason that I wanted to come learn weaving is because I really just I started sewing, and as I was coming out as trans and queer, I was sewing clothing that I felt good about, and I really learned that just the power of making textiles and wearing textiles, and how it can make you feel so amazing and just the story that textiles can tell about you. So yeah, I wanted to come and learn to make them and like kind of like layer stories, like weave because of a story, and then like layer that with like how you wear it and all that. So yeah, we finished our first project, which was originally supposed to be dish towels, but I ended up making a bag into it and like giving it to my meme and stuff. But so I made this bag out of something I wove.
Which is a very traditional, the red and white-ish stripe.
Yeah.
For dish toweling or, household fabrics.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see it transformed into something other than dish towels.
Yeah. And then this is just some raw fabric that I have yet to do something with, but I gave a piece to my meme that I made out of a tablecloth so she could put it under her Jesus statues. But yeah.
I have a partiality towards the project that Jude is working on, which is the French Canadian heritage piece. I've had a lot of personal friends who are French Canadian, and it's a passion of mine, this sort of weaving, which is right across our border. Unfortunately, now we can't have our neighbors across the border come, and hopefully that will change. But we've had a lot of interaction with those people in Quebec, and so I was really happy to start this project with Jude. We've got a nice little plan, which I'll maybe let them tell you about.
Cool. This is one that I put a little more thought into.
Yes.
I think about it a lot, actually. Yeah. So I'm gonna weave a linen piece, and I'm gonna take apart my childhood rosary, and I'm gonna weave the beads into the fabric, in a like on the warp, so it'll be like beads that go down, and then I'm gonna make a skirt out of it that like, so the beads go down your leg. It's a little scampy, but I don't know, that is something that I've thought about a lot, and just like the story of like to weave those beads in, of like beads that I used to pray on to like not be who I am, and then like to wear them as like who I am, I think is really powerful. And also using like a traditional weave, and then like being not traditional in the sense of like weaving beads in a specific way. So that's a project that I'm really excited about.
I come from a traditional background, and my fabric business is all about historic reproductions. So it's interesting to help Jude find their way into, the designs that we're going to use. Not me being stuck into, okay, a shawl has to be, this particular pattern. But because they don't know yet. I mean, we have a book of designs which are suitable, but now I'm thinking, we'll go with whatever, we'll try it out. Won't be bound to the rules that overshot has to be for a traditional bed cover. We'll maybe make it into a shawl. So that I'm finding very exciting, that there's a whole lot of rules that we're going to maybe intend to push the boundaries of. So yeah, stay tuned.
Great. So thank you to Jude and Kate for sharing that video. And I think that's a great example of how traditional folk and really all art forms are truly dynamic and constantly changing. And I think sometimes people think of folk and traditional music and other art forms as static and reflecting some distant past and not the present day. But that's just not the case. All traditional folk art forms are constantly pushing the boundaries and sometimes even functioning as subversive or challenging the status quo. So I really appreciate that work they're doing. So the next video we have is from Migmar Sering, who is a leader in the Tibetan American community in Vermont. He moved here to Vermont in 2011, was born originally in Tibet, went to school in India. And Migmar really fully inhabits the role of culture bearer in his community. Early on in his time in Vermont, he connected with the Folklife Center for support in teaching Tibetan song, dance, and also dranyen, which is, as you'll see, a traditional long-necked string instrument from the Himalayas. In Mi'kmar's case, it's a 3-stringed, I believe, dranyen, but they can go up to 7 strings. And Mi'kmar has taught Tibetan music and dance to members of the Tibet Association of Vermont. And also in 2016, he started his own Tibetan performing arts school for youth in his community. During COVID, he has been recording instructional videos for the youth and sharing them on YouTube. And this video will feature Mi'kmar as the master artist. And I should also mention he is a board member on the Vermont Folklife Center Board of Trustees. So here we will share Mi'kmar's performance.
Tashidilik, my name is Mi'kmaq Tsering and I'm a Tibetan American. I play few instruments, but my attachment to dranyen is very personal. Because I taught myself how to play it, and when I do, it always reminds me of my root. When I play music, it absorbs me in such a way that I become free from all the distractions of life. As an artist, my contributions are I volunteer as a dance instructor for TAV dance group for the last 10 years, and it's still going strong. I also started a class called Young Tradition, in which our young Tibetan Americans learn Tibetan songs, dances, and learn how to play the Tibetan traditional instrument called dranyen. I had the privilege to perform for many different occasions in and around New England, and some of those are like Burlington First Night, International Festival, like the VPR Live from the Fort, and Tibet Festival. And for the New England Folk Festival and the Young Tradition Vermont Festival, I am really excited to share my latest composition, a song called Yintrok and Nosang. Over the Golden Bridge was the most beautiful princess, Yintrok Hamu, who was taken away by the fearless prince, Norsang, who just returned from the north. As they travel across the endless meadows, sharing true love with each other, a promising permanent relationship was given birth. Yinro and Nosang then paid a visit to the most sacred monastery, Samlingomba, offering their most sincere prayers to omit all the obstacles that can come in their life. And the rest is in your hand. Please enjoy the song. Thank you very much. Nabalangi Samatashi Dele, Yaming Laming Matsering, Sergi, Tene, Tering Dangegi, Ta, She Sarshit, Namsol Chambishi, a shady Mingla, Yindo Tano songs, number 2, Tulaluchin Seronang, and To Young Wikir. No, lucky passion la demo, lindo da no sanimo. Ya lucky passion demo, lindo da no sanimo. So yari lo, yari lo.
All right, always love hearing Mi'kmaq. And Kate was just noting that actually that Dronian has 6 strings, but they're double strings. So you can also think of it as 3 notes. But I always get a little confused with the string numbers there too. But 6 or 3 are kind of both correct, I think. Yeah, so and we were realizing too that Mi'kmaq, I think, has been on the board of YTV as well. Maybe currently is. I'm not sure, but certainly just a really important teacher, connector, relationship builder, mentor, and you'll notice that his students weren't in that video during COVID. It has just proved too hard to kind of keep up the Dronian lessons and teaching of his students virtually, but he has been busy making instructional videos for teaching Dronian playing on YouTube. And so they're in Tibetan and they're on his YouTube channel, and he's been sending those around to his students as a way to stay connected. And it sounds like doing, Dronian tuning tutorials over the phone and things like that. Yet another group that will be so excited to come together in person, hopefully soon. All right, hi Pete and Emmett. Moving on to our next pair. And do you want to just introduce yourselves and tell us what you're studying together for the second year? I believe this is your second year in the apprenticeship program.
We're in the graduate program here at Contradance Piano University. And yeah, Emmett is probably the youngest postgraduate student in that university at this point. We also had been studying for a while, and we probably we could spend a lot of time chatting about it, but we are blessed to be courtesy of Kate and Mary and everybody else at the Folklife Center, kind of the poster children for the month at the Folklife Center website. So representing the whole program. So people that are interested in kind of getting into our story a little more in depth can visit over there, and I encourage you to do so. It's a great place.
Awesome.
But,
yeah, thanks.
Emmett, I don't want to take your speech away from you either. So I love to hear you talk, man, personally.
Yeah, Emmett, maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you've been thinking about learning contradance piano when people can't contradance right now. You know, how are you kind of thinking about the job of a contradance piano player right now?
Well, yeah, it has been a little hard since we haven't really been able to play at any contradances since we started this grant, which is a little bit of a bummer. But yeah, it's been really fun. I mean, like, it's really interesting to learn about all the people and like the stories behind the music that we play. And it's also kind of an honor to like be a part of this music that not a lot of people play, which is kind of fun.
Nice. So have you been talking to some other musicians, or how have you been getting those stories?
Not since COVID, but yeah, we did, I did a jam with George Pete. Can you help me with the name?
Wilson, I bet.
Yeah,
Yes,
George Wilson. Yep, at Flurry last year.
Yeah, Dance Flurry. And so I got to play with him, and that was really fun. But yeah, I mean, Pete's always sending me links to other people playing music, and yeah, it's been really fun.
Yeah, I think we all have to recognize the important role of YouTube in the folk process at this point.
Darn sure.
And now everyone in this assembly is contributing to that with the sort of digital media production that COVID is encouraging. But yes, thanks, Pete, for mentioning the blog post. We do at the Folklife Center do our best to kind of share out some stories and music from folks who are participating in the apprenticeship program. And so our recent blog post is about Pete and Emmett. We also have a podcast called Vermont Untapped, and we featured some apprenticeship pairs on Vermont Untapped in the past year as well. You can hear more from Kate and Jude at the Weaving School, and other folks who are participating. So yeah, keeping an eye on our newsletter and website for more stories from the apprenticeship program. Well, thanks, Pete and Emmett, for saying hello, and let's hear some tunes, shall we?
Hi, this is Emmett Stoll. I'm from Warren, and this is my teacher, Pete Sutherland, and we're going to play two tunes. First one from Burlington. The first one is called Reel in D, and the second one is Eddie's Reel.
Alrighty. This is Pete and Emmett again. Second year in the Folklife Center's Master Apprentice program. Very fortunate to be doing so, and we are studying New England piano again, and we're going to play a grand old New England tune called Dusty Love. Take it away.
Thank you, Pete and Emmett. That really got me dancing in my futon. Can't wait till we can all gather together for that in person. So I believe the next video set is coming from the Bhutanese Nepali Cultural Heritage Dance Group of Vermont. That group was established in 2016. And for those who aren't aware, the Bhutanese Nepali refugee community was started to be resettled in Vermont in 2009. And today there are around 2,000 people who are part of that multi-ethnic, very diverse community. And this dance group is particularly special because it's one of the only community organized groups from the Bhutanese Nepali community that is not affiliated with a particular religion or social or cultural caste. And this group is for all youth in the Bhutanese Nepali community, and it is a safe space for those youth to gather together, to speak Nepali language, and to share their cultural heritage with one another in the broader Vermont community. Typically, when we aren't in a global pandemic, there are between 20 to 30 youth ages 3 to 24 who gather twice a week at least. And during the pandemic, it kind of has shrunk a little bit to a more advanced group of students who can learn with their master artist Nibru Siwakoti through Zoom. And so in a little bit, we'll have Bisnu Kadka, who's the coordinator of the dance group, introduce the dances and what they mean. Unfortunately, we weren't able to pull together a video with the dancers themselves introducing the dances, but we are happy to have Bisnu doing that. And for the first dance, I believe the two dancers are Sustika Rai and Bindia Kadka. And then the second dance is performed by Sustika Rai. So hope you enjoy.
Namaste, my name is Vishnu Kharka. I live in Burlington, Vermont. I have a small dance class called Bhutanese Nepali Cultural Heritage Dance Group of Vermont. I would like to say thank you to England Folk Festival and Vermont Folklife Center, who has given me this opportunity to introduce my small dance video with you guys. I don't want to take a long time. The two dances in here are is going to dance by Bindia Kharka and Swastika Rai. In the first dance, I just want to explain how the what the dance what the dance wants to say. The topic of the dance is Hizorati Sapanima. It means like in my dream yesterday. I saw you in my dream yesterday. What a coincidence! I meet you in reality. I'm not lying you. I promise I crossed 9 mountains on foot to meet you. Life is for 2 days. Let's dance and enjoy. I have seen boys from Eastern and Westerns, but the one to whom I love most is in my place. I'm not lying you. I promise I love you so much. Let's store our love for forever. I promise I love you forever. And the second dance is we make a really short video, and there's not a lot that I'm going to explain, but it just said, I'm sorry. This song mostly talks about the conversation between the grown-up boys and the girls. The topic of the song is Chameliko Fulma. It's it means a beautiful flower. When the flowers blooms, the honeybees will go and hunt it. In the same way, when the girls are grown up, the boys and the girls, they started sharing their loves. They wanted to know each other. So basically, the conversation will go in that way. So, all right, guys, thank you for letting me to share our videos and our cultures. Thank you so much. All right, bye.
चमेलीको फुलमा फुफु भमरा चमेलीको फुलमा फुफु भमरा तिमी पनि कन्ने केटी म पनि कुमारा गाठे म पनि कुमारा तिमी पनि कन्ने केटी म पनि कुमारा गाठे म पनि कुमारा
नमस्ते, मेरो नाम सस्तिका राई, म बर्लिङटन भ्रमणबाट। हजुरहरूले अहिलेसम्मको मेरो प्रस्तुति मन पराइदिनु भएकोमा धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद। आशा छ हजुरहरूले मेरो यो प्रस्तुति पनि मन पराइदिनु हुनेछ। यदि हजुरहरू मलाई अर्को राउन्डमा पनि देख्न चाहनुहुन्छ भने प्लिज मलाई धेरैभन्दा धेरै भोट गरेर सहयोग गरिदिनु होला। धन्यवाद।
हिजो राति तिमीलाई देखे सपनीमा, हे हिजो राति तिमीलाई देखे सपनीमा, कस्तो संजोग भेट भयो आजै विपनीमा। धरुधरमा घाटेको छैन मैले तिम्रै कसम खाए, भेट्नै भने नौ डाँडा काटेर मागे। सुन मायालु, भेट्नै भने नौ डाँडा काटेर मागे। पश्चिमेली देखे मैले पूर्वेली नि देखे हे पश्चिमेली देखे मैले पूर्वेली नि देखे मनले खाको ज्यान पनि भाको यही ठाउँमा भेटे धरोधरमा घाटेको भए हजुरमै मरि जाउँला यो जुनी मात्रै होइन जुनी जुनी आउला सुन मायालु यो जुनी मात्रै होइन जुनी जुनी आउला सुन मायालु ख्याल ख्यालैमा बस्यो है माया यो मेरो कलेज छेउमा झन् टाढा जान्छु झन् माया लाग्छ बसौँ है माया छेउमा आजलाई छुट्टिने भइगयो बेला झल्को यो तस्बिरले मेटाउला नमरे बाँचे पिरती साँचे मायालाई फेरि भेटौँला नमरे बाँचे पिरती साँचे मायालाई फेरि भेटौँला नमरे बाँचे पिरती साँचे मायालाई फेरि भेटौँला
All right, I think that's our last video in our video showcase. Thank you so much, Oliver Scanlon, for running the amazing transitions from video to live, and it's just yeah, really really wonderful service to provide. And of course, thanks to all of the musicians and weavers and singers and dancers who figured out how to create these videos to share. It really does help us stay connected and gives a lot of hope at this time. So it's been really wonderful to work on this project together. Mark and Yazi, I'll turn it back to you to wrap things up.
Thanks, Mary. Well, that was really wonderful to see all of those different acts. And Migmar said something in his video that struck me. He said something like the music absorbs him enough that it makes him forget about the other worries in his life. And I hope that this concert has given that to everyone who's watched and that you feel inspired by it. So thank you to the Vermont Folklife Center for putting this together with us. And as Mary said, thank you to Oliver for doing sound. And thank you to all the master artists and the apprentices who contributed to this, and the ones who could be here in person or be here live with us on Zoom. I'm so glad that we got to hear that, some of that back and forth and live interaction. And I want to mention a few of our sponsors, because I realized I didn't mention them throughout the show, but I'll just say some of their names. The Vermont Folklife Center, as well as being a partner in this, is one on our sponsor list. Pete's Posse is a sponsor. Oliver is part of Pete's Posse, and Pete, who you saw talking as well, is in that group. Pete is an individual sponsor as well as being part of Pete's Posse as a sponsor. The B-Boys Raw Honey, Nelson Family Foundation, Chandler Center for the Arts, Burlington Sacred Harp, the Young Tradition Touring Group, Vermont Violins. Those are some of the ones that come to mind. And Mark, maybe you could share that screen again so everyone can see all of the sponsors. And yeah, I'm really happy with the festival this weekend, and I'm grateful to be part of it. Mark, I'll pass it to you, just if you have anything to say, any closing remarks.
All right, great. So hopefully you can see the poster there with the names of the folks who are sponsoring. Thanks to everybody for being part of it. You know, we've had a tribute event at the end of Young Tradition Festival for a number of years, and we've used it to pay tribute to master artists who have left their work for us to carry on. And these have included friends like Louis Baudouin, Margaret MacArthur, Martha Pellerin. And it occurs to me that using this tribute event to highlight the apprenticeship program is a perfect way to highlight not only the people who have left us to carry on, but also what the process of passing on the tradition looks and sounds and feels like. Thanks to all the master artists and the apprentices for sharing a bit about what that is like. It couldn't be a more perfect match. Love working with the Folklife Center. I'm actually on the board of the Folklife Center. Kate is on the board for Young Tradition Vermont, so there's a lot of intertwinings there. Thanks to Mary and Kate for making this possible, for pulling this together. And I hope we can all continue to work on this and have a Young Tradition Festival in the future. Your attendance, your contributions, your sponsorships help make that possible. And that's the close of our festival, and couldn't be at a higher note than we are at the end of this last event. Thank you all for coming and being part of it. I think we're going to try to get, we're going to hold on here for folks who are part of the group. Don't leave after we go off live.